Right now, as you're watching this video, 8 American warships are steaming toward Venezuela, carrying 4,500 troops and enough firepower to level a small country. The Caribbean hasn't seen this kind of US military buildup in decades. But here's what makes this different from every other Latin American intervention you've seen before. Let me set the stage for you. In July 2025, the US Treasury designated something called the Cartel de los Soles, the Cartel of the Suns, as a global terrorist organization. Sounds like just another drug cartel, right? The US claims this cartel is led by none other than Nicolas Maduro, Venezuela's president. Think about that for a second. America isn't just going after some shadowy drug lord hiding in the jungle. They're essentially calling the head of state of an entire country a terrorist drug kingpin. The bounty on Maduro's head? $50 million. That's more than most countries' entire defense budgets. But Venezuela isn't just sitting there taking it. Maduro immediately deployed his own warships, drones, and naval vessels to counter the American fleet. He's moved 15,000 troops to the Colombian border, essentially turning the entire northern coast of South America into a potential powder keg. And here's the kicker. Venezuela filed a formal complaint with the United Nations, accusing the US of making illegal threats. So now we have two countries, both claiming the other is the aggressor, facing off in waters that have been relatively peaceful for decades. Now, you might be thinking, okay, so America's going after drug dealers. What's the big deal? But here's where it gets complicated. The US State Department's own anti-drug report from March made no mention of this Cartel de los Soles or any connection between Maduro and drug trafficking. Think about that. 4 months ago, officially, this cartel didn't even exist in American intelligence reports. But then, Trump took office and suddenly, Venezuela became enemy number 1. Therefore, critics are asking, is this really about drugs, or is this about regime change? Remember, the US refused to recognize Maduro's 2024 election victory, joining dozens of other countries who called the results fraudulent. But Venezuela has its own perspective. From Caracas's view, they're watching the most powerful military in the world park on their doorstep, claiming it's about fighting crime. Imagine if China sent warships to the Gulf of Mexico, claiming they were fighting American organized crime. How would we react? Therefore, Maduro is framing this as classic American imperialism, using the drug war as a pretext for intervention. And honestly, Latin American history gives him plenty of examples to point to. But here's what makes this situation uniquely dangerous. Venezuela isn't just any Latin American country. They have the world's largest proven oil reserves. They're deploying military assets to their key oil exporting hub near Colombia, which means any escalation could disrupt global energy markets. Therefore, we're not just talking about a regional spat. We're talking about a confrontation that could spike oil prices, destabilize an already fragile region, and potentially drag in other powers. But wait, there's more complexity here. The US claims this Cartel de los Soles supports other criminal organizations like Tren de Aragua and even connects to the Sinaloa cartel. If true, we're looking at a genuinely international criminal network with state-level protection. Therefore, from Washington's perspective, they're not just going after Venezuela. They're dismantling a transnational crime syndicate that happens to be protected by a hostile government. But Venezuela sees it differently. They're watching American destroyers, a nuclear submarine, and an amphibious assault ship, including 2,200 Marines, position themselves in their backyard. That's not anti-drug enforcement. That's invasion-level firepower. And this is where we reach the most dangerous moment. These warships could reach Venezuelan waters by this weekend. We're talking about the most significant US military deployment to the Caribbean in decades, facing off against a Venezuelan military that's already mobilized and on high alert. Here's what keeps me up at night. Both sides are now committed. Trump has made this a signature policy. His administration's tough stance against what they call narco-terrorism. Backing down would be seen as weakness. But Maduro? He's fighting for his political survival. Even Mexico's president says there's no evidence linking Maduro to cartels, suggesting regional support for Venezuela's position. If Maduro backs down now, he looks like a puppet. So we have two leaders, both playing to domestic audiences, neither able to afford looking weak, with enough military hardware in a small patch of ocean to start a real war. One miscalculation,